Welcome to the Positively Joyful Productivity Show, where joy isn't a reward for productivity, it's the secret ingredient. I'm your host, Nicole Louise, coach, wife, and dog mom. This is a no-kid zone by design, created for women who are child-free, childless, or an empty nester embracing your next chapter. You all belong here. Each week, you'll hear inspiring stories from women around the world and learn tools, mindset shifts, and practical strategies for living a joyful life. You'll also discover the science behind why focusing on joy fuels focus, motivation, and lasting productivity. Let's get inspired, get organized, and create a life full of freedom, focus, and joy. Hey there. I want to warmly welcome you to the Positively Joyful Productivity Show, where joy isn't a reward for productivity, it is the secret ingredient. Hey there, I'm your host, Nicole Louise, and this is the very first episode of the show. Today's topic is the perfect segue as this podcast transitions from Nurturing Balance, a Childfree Perspective podcast, to the Positively Joyful Productivity Show. So welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. So I'm starting off this new podcast talking about the connection between emotions, mindset, and overall well-being. You're going to learn the very important relationship between joy and productivity and why I'm focusing so much on joy as a productivity coach. I want to share a story with you about how this started and why I'm shifting over to the Positively Joyful Productivity Show in the first place. So I want to share a little snippet. So several years ago, a very close friend of mine was going through a tough time, and she was working with a therapist to support her during that time. And we were out having one of our dinner dates, and she was filling me in on what was going on and what was the latest in her life. And she was talking about her therapy session, and I will never forget this question that her therapist had asked her during their session. The question was, when was the last time did you feel joy? And that question stopped my friend in her tracks during her session. And so we chatted about that. But it also stopped me in my tracks while I was listening to her story. So she continued on talking about, what was going on and everything. But I kind of got stuck there, hanging on that question. When the hell was the last time I felt joy? And at that time, I was guessing, I guess it would have been my wedding day, which that was a few years prior to this dinner date. I hadn't felt joy in years? What? That was a problem. And that was why I got so hung up there. I could not believe that I couldn't remember the last time I felt joy. So that one little question has permanently lodged itself in the back of my brain, and every now and then it pops up to the front of my thoughts. As I look around the world and my world and, the world at large right now, that question has become front and center for me. And as I look around at all of the people that I interact with, I often wonder to myself, when was the last time they experienced joy? I am constantly finding myself involved in conversations that continually revolve around things like difficult relationships, the state of the world, politics, how hard or frustrating something is for someone, etc., etc. And it's kind of this negative loop, this negative hamster wheel that we can get stuck on so easily, right? And as I watch and listen to the women around me, all I can think is there is so much joy lacking from women's lives. And these women are smart, funny, powerhouse women, and still there seems to be a lot of joy missing. speaking of joy, you can probably hear my dog Abby. She's tiptoeing around in the background. So if you hear clicking, that is her nails on our non-carpeted floors. She just wanted to introduce herself, I suppose. Anyway, the thing is, life doesn't have to be like that. We were not put here on this earth to struggle and be miserable all the time. We were meant to create beautiful, fulfilling lives of joy and love. And I help women create routines to organize and structure their lives in order to feel in control of things. But now I'm taking it one giant step further. I am helping women align with joy first. And what I've found is that once you do that, all of the rest, everything else just falls into place. I'll share more stories on this in future episodes, but today I just want to stick to this little intro. So, out of all of that and that one little question and a personal quest of my own, ta-da, this podcast was born. So, to back up my personal anecdotes and stories, there is actual science and there is actual research behind all of this. So, again, I'll dive into that in future episodes, but for today, I'm just going to start with one little snippet for you. In December 2024, Time magazine released an article called The Crucial Role Emotions Play in Productivity by Isra Nasir. The article explains that new research is showing that those of us who can regulate emotions are ultimately more productive. Pretty cool, right? The article states the productivity hacks, in quotes, we've been relying on may only scratch the surface, and addressing our emotional well being could be the missing link to long term success. Whoa. Pretty crazy, right? So, my Joyful 5 method focuses directly on this. In order to be the best version of yourself, you need to start from the inside and work your way out with simple habits that set you up for real, lasting success. And again, I'll talk way more about that and about the Joyful 5 method in upcoming episodes. And I've got some really cool resources coming out soon too. So to stay in the loop, make sure you subscribe to this podcast for all the details coming out eventually on that. So on this podcast, I'll be teaching you bits and pieces of the Joyful 5 method. It's super simple. And you'll also hear inspiring stories from other women who have overcome significant life challenges with the help of productivity tools. And you'll learn about some tools to help you become more organized and productive, but ultimately be the best version of you so that you can live the beautiful, fulfilling life that you are meant to live. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm married to Adam, and we are proud dog parents to Abby, who you can hear in the background, I'm sure. She is our 14-year-old Lab Retriever Husky rescue pup. And I love being outside, especially with her. We go for walks every day in the woods. The one thing that brings me probably the most joy in my life. Love it. And being outside just completely rejuvenates me. I love camping. I love just being outdoors in pretty much any way I can. And professionally, I have been a teacher for nearly 2 decades, which is insane to me. However, it has helped me hone my time structuring expertise. So as a teacher, I'm constantly structuring every second of my day. So if you want to know how to fit something in, I'm your girl. In addition to that, I've had to figure out how to be happy as a teacher because if you know, you know. But if you know anything about teaching right now, or if you know a teacher or, just have kids in school, whatever, it's incredibly difficult for teachers right now. So the journey through teaching, both on a personal level and a professional one, have ultimately led me here talking to you today. And as a note to any mom out there listening in, Since Adam and I don't have children, I don't have the lived experience of raising kids. Although I am a teacher, I don't live with my students. And so I don't have that experience. So this space was created for women like me who are not raising kids, a kid-free zone, if you will. So whether you're like me and you're child-free or childless or an empty nester mom, you are in the right place. This space focuses on you and your joy, your success as a woman. So we are going to shatter hustle culture and do things a little bit differently around here. Now, I'm going to circle back and I want to ask you that question that was lodged in my brain for all those years. When was the last time you experienced joy? If you're unsure of that answer, you are in the right place. All right. If you are ready to join me on this journey to bring more joy into your life, be more organized and productive, and just create your absolute best and beautiful life, hit subscribe below and follow along on this journey. I am so excited to have you here. Let's get started.